The Iceman cometh. Though we are a long way off from seeing real mass deportation that could see tens of millions of illegal aliens being booted from the country, it does appear, however, that Donald Trump and his administration is forging ahead with their plan of greatly ramping up deportations as a whole. According to an exclusive from the UK Daily Mail last night, thousands of ICE officers have now been sent to the San Diego border with the plan of deporting 100,000 illegal aliens from California back to Mexico and Central America. Take a look at this. So this is their exclusive. ICE descends on San Diego border crossing for biggest illegal immigrant grab in recent history. The article states that thousands of ICE officers have been dispatched to the San Diego border crossing as they prepare to take 100,000 immigrants back to Mexico and Central America in one of the biggest migrant raids in recent times. Marines have already descended on the area in an attempt to secure the crossing as President Trump ramped up his promise of cracking down on illegal immigration. Around 1,500 active duty troops were deployed to the nearly 2,000-mile border this week, including 500 Marines from Camp Pendleton in California. Daily Mail can now reveal that they have been joined with what has been described as a mile-long line of DHS trucks and CBP. A mile long. A White House intelligence source said that there is a mile-long line of DHS trucks and CBP in front of Camp Pendleton right now, ready to do the biggest illegal immigrant grab in recent history. The West Coast is this week, and the East Coast is next week. It is about to get crazy in California. They need to fill 100,000 spots, meaning arrests is the directive. They're going to be taking 100,000 immigrants back to Mexico, Colombia, El Salvador, and Guatemala in this grab. Border Czar Tom Homan says he is not satisfied with the pace of migrant deportations despite ICE's, quote, unprecedented number of arrests, and claims the U.S. needs to open the aperture up and carry out more deportations. And boy, is he right. If you're intending to do true mass deportation, they need to dramatically increase the rates of deportations. 1,500 a day, even 2,000 a day is nothing. Let's just say that you deported 1,500 people a day. You're only talking about 500,000 a year. And if you have 22 million people illegally in this country or more, yeah, they do need to dramatically increase deportation. Anyway, the article goes on to write that the Pentagon expects additional troops to be ordered to deploy in the next few days as defense and homeland security leaders iron out requests for more support. It was also announced on Tuesday that the military would allow ICE to use Buckley Space Force Base in Colorado to detain migrants. The U.S. military's Northern Command said in a statement that it started providing facilities at Buckley to ICE starting on Monday. Now, the Buckley Space Force Base is located in the city of Aurora, a Denver suburb, which figured prominently during Trump's presidential campaign last year. Tom Homan did praise the start of their deportation and border enforcement plan, saying it was a great start. The first week was unprecedented, and talked about how illegal border crossings have dropped from 10,000 a day to under 600. It's great, it's good, but we're not finished, and we need more deportations. A lot more deportations, and that's what we're working on. Now, the border czar, Tom Homan, is a hardline supporter of Donald Trump and a dedicated border man who wants to see illegal immigration stop. And when asked about the enforcement actions that have been taken, especially the ones at sensitive locations such as churches, schools, and workplaces, he explained that it was sending a clear message to the illegal immigrants that there are consequences of entering this country illegally, and that if we don't show there are consequences, you're never going to fix the border problem. And so the Trump administration is striking fear in the heart of people who would break our laws and break and enter into our country. And the word is spreading. Illegal aliens who have been booted out of this country and sent back to places like Colombia are warning their fellow citizens not to go to the U.S. Take a look at this interview shown on the UK Daily Mail.
¿Cómo fue el trato desde el principio?
No, terrible. O sea, la comida con mi bebé, casi me robaron en México, me robaron todos los documentos, el celular. Casi se roban a mi bebé.
Getting robbed in Mexico is an unfortunate reality for many people. The country is extremely dangerous these days.
Él no ha comido, él está en desnutrición. Allá lo llevé al médico y él está en desnutrición. Él no ha comido en todos estos días, no ha comido.
¿Qué mensaje le das al país ahora que estás acá?
Que no se vayan. No se vayan porque los están deportando a todos, no, o sea, no los van a soltar al siguiente día, sino allá hay personas que llevan un mes, hay gente desaparecida. No, que no se vayan y ya hay ejército, ya mandaron soldados a las fronteras, los ponen en el asilo, pero no los sueltan allá, los dejan. Nos dieron prioridad porque pues traemos a los bebés. Pero duré 8 días allá donde, o sea, sin comer bien, los tratos eran horribles, nos levantaban, mejor dicho, como si fuéramos lo peor.
Now, the UK Daily Mail also reported that one migrant told W Radio that he turned himself into ice and was deported after being detained for 12 days. So, it looks like the news is spreading. Meanwhile, back here in the US, those who haven't made the move to voluntarily leave the US yet are said to be in hiding. Factories, warehouses, and grocery stores have become ghost towns. But border Czar Tom Homan's message to them is simple. There are consequences of entering this country illegally. If we don't show that there are consequences, you are never going to fix the border problem. And he is right. And yet, my friends, despite the obvious signs that the Trump administration is moving hard and fast here, there are many illegals who simply refuse to believe that mass deportation will actually happen to them. In fact, I've had discussions with business partners who can't themselves imagine the U.S. giving up its semi-slave labor. It's underclass of the less than people who work below minimum wage, who work these jobs that supposedly Americans won't work, which in of itself is stupid. It's very similar to how the slave states used to defend their slavery, saying, well, who's going to pick the cotton? Americans? I, for one, though, don't think that that's going to be the case. I actually do think that Donald Trump and his administration will actually follow through this time with mass deportation. Watching Trump has been an eye-opener in his second administration. It is apparent that he has learned from his missteps in his first term. And because of this, he understands the limited time he has. And so importantly, he is moving with incredible and precise speed here. There's a reason why there are so many executive orders and so many things are happening that is splitting the attention of both the Democrat Party and the hostile press that wants to undermine his administration. There's too many things happening. There's too many things sucking up oxygen. And nobody can get a word in edgewise. It is Donald Trump 100% of the time. And Trump knows that he has this limited window that he needs to get everything done in. Trump seems to understand now that the illegal alien crisis isn't just about cheap semi-slave labor, but also is a threat to our very democracy, our representative republic. You see, if left in this country, there will be an eventual amnesty. Sooner or later, the Democrat Party will get their way and they will give these people citizenship. This would mean generational loss of power for the Republicans and perhaps a permanent power for the Democrat Party. Now, I say this because we have already had historical precedents for this happening here in the U.S. We've all seen how things are going in California. It is a disaster. But did you know that California used to be a purple-red state, similar to how Texas has been perceived in elections in recent past? You see, from 1972 to 1988, California had voted Republican in every national election, which is inconceivable today. But ever since 1988, it has never happened again. So why the change? Well, you see, President Ronald Reagan, who is considered one of the preeminent conservative presidents of all time, made one very crucial, very important mistake during his reign as leader of the free world. And that was the 1986 Immigration Reform and Control Act, also known as the Simpson-Mazzoli Act or the 1986 Amnesty Bill. And this bill had a profound impact on not just the country, but California. You see, the Amnesty Bill allowed the illegal aliens who had been continuously present in the U.S. since January 1st of 1982 and onwards to apply for legal status. This resulted in the legalization of approximately 2.7 million illegal aliens nationwide, with a huge portion of them residing in California. Estimates are hard to come by, but it could be as high as 1.6 million of the 2.7 were in California. And so because of this, amnesty led to a massive demographic shift in California. California's population not only increased rapidly as newly legalized immigrants brought their families in also, but the state became more ethnically diverse, to put it nicely. And by that I mean there was a massive growth in Hispanic population. Because of this, the political landscape of California was completely remade. You see, as naturalized citizens, many of these former illegal aliens became voters and they would influence election outcomes. Issues important to these newly found citizens gained more prominence in state politics, and thanks to many illegal aliens needing government assistance and government services, this also added to the shift towards the Democrat Party. You see, people who need government assistance typically vote for the party that gives them the most stuff, and the party that plays Santa Claus the best is the Democrat Party. And so, within a few years, the state had slipped decidedly left, and it is now well over 60% in favor of the Democrat Party. This means that the Republican voice in the state was then obliterated. The needs of the citizens of the state were also ignored as the fresh legions of new voters overrode the wishes of the Californian people. And within a decade, the state had changed dramatically, which set the stage for the now 25-year decline that California has now been under. The beautiful gleam of California was lost in a haze of government waste and destruction. And at the root of the problem is the Amnesty Bill of 1986. California became a permanent blue state because of amnesty. And that was just with 2.7 million illegal aliens getting amnesty. Today, there are somewhere northward of 22 million people here illegally. If they were ever to be given amnesty as a whole, it would be a lifetime shift as a country towards the Democrat Party. Because remember, the Democrat Party is the party of welfare. They are the party of permanent servitude through government enslavement. It is all done through the insidious and addicting trough of government handouts. Always just enough goodies to make life comfortable, to get your cell phones, to have television, to have internet, but never enough to move up the economic ladder. The left has devised the perfect tool to destroy entire generations of young people who, thanks to the welfare state, are forever trapped in the prison of their own government's making. This, my friends, is why this battle is so important. The very heart and soul of this nation is at stake, and Trump seems to finally understand this. Now, whether or not mass deportation will be a short-term deal for show, meaning maybe a couple of extra 100,000 illegals getting deported, or whether we will see true mass deportation is still anyone's call. But something tells me that we live in a brave new world, and we might actually see what the majority of the American people now demand, and that is mass deportation. At the very least, it looks promising, so we're just going to have to wait and see.